I recently watched an interview you did with PBS, and there was something that really troubled me about a particular topic that was raised, and that was the notion that the protest for justice in America has created this recent atmosphere of violence. How do you respond to that?
Well, I would say that violence happens whether we protest or not. This country has been an agent of violence for centuries. There's not been a day in the life of an African person, an indigenous person, a poor person. It's not been one day in the history of this country where our bodies have not been subjected to arbitrary violence at the hands of the state. And so the constitutionally protected right to protest and to dissent without fear of violence is part of what is afforded to us as citizens of this country. Our asserting that our lives are valuable, our lives are meaningful, our lives have inherent dignity is not an act of violence, nor is it a catalyst for violence. What is a catalyst for violence is white supremacy, colonialism, imperialism, and the need to control Black people and those who would align themselves with the interests of Black liberation. And so to those who would claim that the protests are creating violence, I would tell you that you are wickedly deceived. And our work is about opening your eyes, either with a lot of love and graciousness or with the alarm clock that is blaring. So you can't remain asleep in the time of revolution.
Just hitting on another one of your bullets on your website, it talks about this idea for a road to success. Excuse me. How can communities of color and America get on that road to success?
Well, I think that those who are the most directly impacted, those closest to the pain of degradation, of isolation, of exclusion, of racism, white supremacy, human hierarchy, colonialism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, all of those individuals who are at the center, as Kimberly Crenshaw Williams calls it, the intersecting ways in which oppression meet us. They ought to be the compass that helps lead us as a society into a better future. The wealthy and the powerful cannot be the moral guide for what it means to have justice in this country or in the world, because they have too many blind spots. They have too many buffers that are afforded to them by their wealth and their privilege. But the prisoner, the incarcerated one, the one who is fighting literally every day to feed their family and their children, those who are racially profiled, those who are denied their full human rights, they are the ones that can keep reminding us of our most highest calling. And so I think the road to justice, the road to liberation must always be led, influenced, and dare I say, informed by those who are the most disenfranchised in our communities. And often it is people who have melanin in their skin. and so I do believe our lot, if we must cast one, should always be cast with those individuals.
And one of the things that I think that we're really talking about for sometimes with individuals not recognizing that the high rates of gun violence could be impacted by the difficulties certain communities in America are facing, including social isolation, loss of work and their wages, and fear. So these are driving factors that which have already compounded already existing conditions within communities of color, and I think COVID-19 has even exacerbated it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what COVID has done is it's ripped the Band-Aid, if there ever was one, off the gaping wounds of the most vulnerable among us. It has demonstrated that the systems of this country, whether they be healthcare, whether they be policing or public safety, whether they be prisons or jails, whether it even be the Congress or even some of our state houses, are ill-equipped to provide constitutional protection to every single human being in this country, largely because our systems are woefully under-resourced, because we spend way too much of our dollars on military equipment that is used to terrorize poor countries abroad, or it is used to over-police our most vulnerable populations domestically. And so the overinvestment in militarized policing or the military has created now a deficit in the ability of our tax base to fully resource and support our most vulnerable among us. And so when COVID ravages through Black, brown communities, when COVID is seen as a enemy to only defeat for the economy, but not for the bodies and the lives of our most vulnerable among us, then we find ourselves using the wrong weapons, the wrong instruments to defeat these kinds of challenges that we face. And so I do believe that the pathway forward for us has to be one that prioritizes life and not profit, that prioritizes people and not prisons, that prioritizes human beings and not war machines. And if we can ever get to that place, we will never run out of hospital beds. We will never run out of doctors and nurses. We will never run out of schools and teachers. We will never run out of food and housing programs. Dare I say, we will never run out of ways to secure the peace without violence. That must be then our highest goal in this moment. May COVID be a catalyst for all of us to reimagine our society, or we may indeed lose it and have to start from a place of a lot of despair and death.